G'day, I'm Mark from Self Sufficient Me, and in this video I'm not just going to show you how to fill 9 of these high-sided raised garden beds on the cheap. Also, I'm going to give you a ton of tips on how to fill them with a medium that is premium and will help you grow veggies right from the beginning, healthy, nutritious and thriving for many years to come. Let's get into it. Out of the 9 garden beds, I've got 4 to go. I'll level with you, I don't think I'm going to be able to fill them all in this video. There's just way too much space there for me to manually fill in. And I've just finished leveling them off. So speaking of leveling, that's the first tip, is to make sure you do get them as level as possible. You might not be able to get them perfectly level. Most of my garden beds have sunk over time as well, these raised alu-zinc ones. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. I just worry about growing veggies in my garden beds, and that's my main priority. Looks isn't number one. And if you follow my videos for a while, you'd know that's quite true. And because I retrofitted these garden beds over the old rotten one, and I needed, of course, the prong to be able to pull all that out. It was a fair job. It was a lot of uneven ground, and the existing soil was underneath these, and which brings me to another tip or a point. Is it a good idea to use your old soil? And most of the time it is, because if you have done the right thing by your veggie garden beds and you've been improving the soil, you've been adding compost, you've been adding manures, that is turning into a really good live soil. It's full of worms and animals, bacteria, fungi, that is beneficial to plants. So it makes sense that if you're replacing them with higher sided raised garden beds, that you use that soil on the top. However, if, like in my case, you've left that soil go a little bit, it's not too bad, but then it's too much of a hassle also to try to get it back into those beds because there's too much to move to one side, or it's not quite worth it because the soil's not that good. Well, then you could just simply use it at the base of those beds and keep all those animals and worms maybe that might have still been in that soil, lay those beds on top like I have done, and then any excess throw back into those beds. That way it's going to save me time in this case, it's going to save me fill, and it won't make much difference to the final product because we're going to get to the soil and medium mix shortly. Even the kookaburras are after the worms. That's one that I didn't get. Otherwise I would have put it in the garden bed. Well, that's that done. It's hard yakka. And that's another tip that I want to give you guys. If you're willing and able, if you're able, maybe not that willing because it's hard work shoveling dirt, I would say skip the backhoe or the mini digger, which a lot of guys would be thinking that would be an easier way to go. Get a mini digger and fill these beds up quick smart. A, you have to purchase that or you have to hire that, and B, you're not getting the exercise. A lot of us as we get on a bit, and even younger people, don't work out as much as we should. But this is a way to get a workout in at the same time improving your garden. So don't shirk the hard work. Think of it as a gym workout and not as a chore or something that you should pass off onto heavy machinery. The next thing I'm going to put in is a composted down wood chip. And the reason why I want it to be composted down, and I recommend you do it composted down and not fresh, is for 2 things. First of all, if it's fresh, it will compost in your beds and heat your beds up. You may or may not want that to happen. You might want to be planting straight away. If you do, I would recommend you don't put a raw or new chip into the base of these beds and then top it with soil. soil, because you're going to get an extra hot bed, and that might not be good for the veggie roots for a month or so. And the second thing is, composted down wood chip is already turning into the good stuff, and I've shown that in previous videos, so I won't go over that. If you want to know about that, go to the what happens when you leave wood chip sit in a big pile. That video will explain everything, the humus for example. But it's not just that, it's also the materials won't sink as much. So when you top these beds up with the soil, it's already composted down, so you're going to get less sinkage, which means you're not going to have to top these beds up or have them sink too much in your first season of growing, which will help because you don't want too much sinkage and starting to reach down into the bed to harvest your veggies. Yes, it will sink over time, but not dramatically like a new wood chip would. You're getting closer to me, young fella, huh? Boo. Anyway, let's get into the next stage of filling these beds most of the way to the top with wood chip. Now I'm just adding to the noise. What can I do? The rest of the neighbourhood's going off. I might as well be noisy too. Let's finish this bed off with some premium soil. Just because you mix soil with a manure doesn't turn it into an excellent or premium soil, in my opinion. And that's the other thing you've got to be careful of. A lot of landscape supply companies will mix their own soil. That you have to be very careful about. The home jobby who like to save money themselves by mixing their own soil at the back and then selling it off to the customer as premium soil, simply because they've got some loamy, sandy, cheap soil and then they've mixed it with some chicken poop that they've got from the local poultry farmer or maybe the pony club. That type of thing is never a very good mix of soil to put into your garden, and it's certainly not premium. What premium soil is soil that has been mixed with a whole range of goodies. Yes, it can have some animal manure in it, but that's not overly important. The fertility of it coming from manures or even artificial fertilizers or synthetic fertilizers, which some will throw in and call it that extreme or gold soil, you'd be better off putting your own fertilizer into a premium soil that you've purchased at a lesser price than buying that other one that's been mixed in with the manures. You'd be better off mixing in your own manures once you've got it in your bed and top dressing with the manure, maybe digging that in, than getting the top level soil, because you're just paying extra that you could do it a lot cheaper yourself. Your premium soil should, in general, have a charcoal colour. It's been mixed in with some good composted down organic material. You should see bits of twigs and small bits of stick, ash, small rocks and stones, giving your soil the minerals it needs. It shouldn't be too sandy or loamy. It shouldn't have a crust on top of the surface. It shouldn't fall through the fingers too easily when squeezed. And if it's a bit moist, it should hold together quite well. Of course, it shouldn't be too wet and clay-like, but it should hold together well enough without breaking apart too easily and being definitely too sandy. The guys that I get my soil from now, they actually get it made by a third party who specialises in making soil for garden beds. And because they specialise in it and they are a trusted brand, so to speak, and that's all they do, sure, it might cost a little bit extra, but not a heck of a lot, but you know you're getting a quality product. Anyway, let's finish this job off. you can see that I've raised it up probably a few inches. That's because I'm still allowing for some sinkage. You're going to get sinkage anyway, especially over time. All raised garden beds sink no matter what, even if you fill them full of soil, because you're taking things out, you're using nutrients in the soil, you're pulling weeds, and soil naturally compacts over time. That's why I give it a little bit of leeway and raise it up. Before I put the sugarcane mulch on top, I'll give a little bit of a sprinkle of some fertilizer, maybe some blood and bone, and that'll give it a bit of an extra punch for when I plant into that bed shortly. I wouldn't usually add too much like heavy animal manure to this type of soil mix at this stage, because it'd probably make it a bit too heavy. So this type of fertilizer, like a blood and bone or something watered in, is perfect. And there you go, that's 6 out of the 9 done. Well, I never got close to finishing them all today, did I? But at least I gave you that one example, and of course you saw the other ones in the video as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. One last thing, now you might be saying, Mark, you don't practice what you preach. Why didn't you use your wheelbarrow to cart the dirt around and the mulch? That would have given you more exercise. Well, all I can say to that is, A, I'm not a glutton for punishment, right? So I will use the lawnmower to pull the cart around, and B, the cart holds more than my large wheelbarrow does. So there are my excuses. But yes, if you wanted to use a wheelbarrow and heave everything around, go for it. It's a pretty good workout. I just think that it might have been a bit too much for me. But anyway, I did a lot of shoveling, and I feel good for it. Thanks a lot for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and share the video around. Bye for now.